This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hello and welcome to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. Thank you for joining us today. We're your hosts. My name is Marcie Davis, and my co-host is my amazing service dog, Fenway. And we're excited to be with you today to talk about our favorite subject, working dogs and working animals. And today we are welcoming Dr. Cynthia Fast. Dr. Fast is the head of training for APOPO, which is a nonprofit organization that I have been following for so long. And so excited to talk with them because their mission is to save lives by training animals to rid the world of landmines and tuberculosis. So I can't wait to hear about their work. And Dr. Fast is really spectacular. She holds a PhD and a master's degree in psychology, specializing in learning and behavior and behavioral neuroscience from UCLA. So she's going to be joining us from Tanzania today. So come right back after these quick messages as we welcome Dr. Cynthia Fast to the show.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms. And our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. So excited to have Dr. Cynthia Fast with us today. Hello, Dr. Fast, and welcome.
Hi, Marcie. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we're just so excited for you to be with us. I've been following your organization and just can't wait to hear all about the wonderful work you're doing. So tell us, first of all, about how the agency got started and what your mission is.
We're a nonprofit organization, and I think it's just a beautiful demonstration of innovation and creativity. So it was just an idea, maybe a wild idea, that a master's student had while he was pursuing his degree in engineering. And at that time, it was, the late 90s, and it was landmines were something that was kind of on everybody's mind. You can remember back to Princess Diana and her campaigns to rid the world of landmines. So he chose to come up with a way to more safely and efficiently clear landmines, particularly in resource-poor areas of the world, like in Africa, where he had visited as a child. And just, through being creative and open-minded, he came with the idea of training giant rats to sniff out these threats that are hidden. So the rest is sort of history there, where we have now kind of perfected that and training the rats, and they've branched out into new ways of putting their powerful noses to good use, all towards our mission of protecting people and our planet with trained scent detection animals.
That is so wonderful and so inspiring. I mean, we think, unfortunately, little rats don't always have the best reputation and are appreciated like they should be. So it's just so wonderful, the work that you're doing with them. So tell us more about that, about how do you train them? How many do you have in service?
Well, the training is very similar to what you might expect with other service animals, particularly scent detection animals. So we use clicker reward training, where the rat learns that the click sound from a handheld device just predicts that the food reward would be delivered. For other animals, you might use a toy, whatever is motivating them. But our rats, and maybe part of why they get a bad rap in other parts of the world, is because they are highly motivated by food and they are master problem solvers when it comes to getting food. That's kind of how they've become, our vermin, because they've figured out that we're really sloppy with our food and leave it laying around.
Lots of opportunity. Yes.
Exactly. So what we know about our rats and their biology is that even if they're not hungry, they will work for food. They're called pouched rats because they actually have giant cheek pouches like a squirrel or a hamster where they hoard their food. So what we've discovered is their favorite food to work for is what I like to call is a banana avocado smoothie. So the rats can't really hoard that in their cheeks. So they continue to work through the training session. So they just learn that they can get us to click and reward them for sniffing out whatever their target item is. So in early stages of training for landmines, that's the explosive component. So TNT. If it's for our disease detection for tuberculosis, our rats are actually sniffing samples that are produced by patients. And what they're looking for in that is the scent of the disease-causing bacteria. So when they identify that, they have a trained behavior to indicate to us and communicate to us that they've located it. And if we know that that's where the target is, that we will click and give them the reward.
That's fantastic. And how long does it take you to train them, Dr. Fast, before they're ready to go to work?
Well, training kind of unofficially starts when the pups are just about 4 weeks old. That's when their eyes first open and their ears open so that they can start experiencing the world around them besides just the smell and touch of things. And we start with just very gently socializing them to people and habituating them to the sorts of sights and smells and sounds that they might experience in their working career. So a rat, I always say, is one of two things. And it's very oversimplified, but generally speaking, they're either curious and really exploratory, and that's when they're going to learn about stuff, or they're frightened and they're afraid, and they're naturally sort of neophobic or afraid of new things. So this very early training is setting the foundation so that our rats don't have to be afraid, and they learn that they can trust people and they can trust the world around them. It's not a scary place. So they can be curious and they don't have any anxiety while they're working.
That's so beautiful. I love it. And it is very similar to the dogs, to the canine service working dogs. Yeah, that is so cool. So tell me, do you breed your own rats for the program?
We do. We have a captive breeding program where all of our rats are born. We do occasionally catch rats from the wild where our training center is located here in Tanzania. And that's just to make sure that we keep a lot of diversity in our gene pool. But then we re-release those wild rats back to where we caught them from after they've raised their pups. So the pups stayed with our program with us, and our rats, from that very first training stage until they graduate and go on to do the work in the field is roughly about 9 months total of training, 9 months to 1 year. There's some, individual differences, kind of like canines, little personality differences. But then they have long working careers. So they usually continue to work until around 6 to 8 years old when they just sort of show us that they're not as motivated to work anymore. So we'll go to, their home cage, and rather than greeting us like they would typically do, they kind of stay huddled up in their nest pot sleeping. I always joke that it's kind of like a teenager on a school day. They go, look at you with one eye open, like, do I really?
Right. We call that the stink eye. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so where do they go after they retire?
All of our programs have a retirement community. So they are then retired to this area where they are surrounded by, other rats in retirement. They have really large enclosures. They're filled with lots of different toys and enrichment. And they get a variety of, basically a big smorgasbord of food every day that they can pick from. So it's really sort of rat heaven in retirement where they can just be a rat.
Yeah, which they deserve after 6 to 8 years of service. That's wonderful that they get to go be in rat heaven. Well, tell us about a typical work day for one of your rats.
It varies a little bit depending on what the rat is, what kind of work they're doing. So for a mine detection rat, it actually starts just before dawn. So our rats are naturally nocturnal, so we try to protect them from the exposure and the heat of the sun. So they go to the minefield just as the sun is rising so that our team of human handlers can see what they're doing. But the rats are not getting too hot or too exposed to that sun. And each rat only works for maybe 20 minutes. And in that time, if it's a mine detection rat, they will search anywhere from 200 to 400 square meters. During training, we just sort of gradually increase the area that the rat searches, and we gradually make it more difficult so there's fewer mines in that area where they're searching. But if they do scratch at the surface where we know a mine has been buried for training, we just click and reward them. So they earn basically their full day's ration and bananas and peanuts and that smoothie all during that 20-minute working session.
Wow.
For TB detection rats, it's a little bit different. They're really working in sort of a laboratory setting. And so depending on the program and where we're stationed, they might work overnight. So we have motorcycle couriers who go to our partnering health clinics around the city and pick up all of the patient samples that were collected from the day. And we bring them back to our centralized lab where those samples are heat inactivated or autoclaved so that they're no longer contagious to the rats or our human staff. And then they're lined up in a sequence of 10 samples in a row that the rat then sniffs one by one. And they'll do that. Oh gosh, it's amazing to watch how quick they are. If they sniff a sample, within milliseconds, they can reject it to say that there is no TB mycobacterium present. However, if they detect that disease-causing bacteria, they'll just hold their nose right over that sample for about 3 seconds. And some of the rats you can see get really excited about this, if I can anthropomorphize a little bit. And they'll kind of spin around and get all excited. Like they know that they found their treat and they're just waiting eagerly for that. So that they can do about 100 patient samples. We always say 20 minutes, but it doesn't take 20 minutes at all. I think the slowest rat we have right now is maybe 11 minutes to sniff 100 patient samples.
That is magnificent. That is just so incredible. I love it. And no wonder they're doing the happy dance. I'm sure you and your staff are doing the happy dance as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And smoothies for everybody. Yeah, that's so great. It's so beautiful that they have such purpose that is just so life-saving for the planet. Yeah, it's really awe-inspiring. So tell me about your other handlers. How many do you have? How many rats do they work? Does each handler have responsibility for?
So unlike dogs and canines and even other species, like I know horses, for example, a lot of these animals will develop a sort of bond with their handler. So our rats are a little bit different. They can definitely identify people and individuals, but they really don't care who they work for as long as you have that smoothie
Right?
or the clicker.
Let's be clear. Yeah.
So each trainer or handler might work with anywhere from 4 or 5 rats up to 15 rats, depending on what stage of training they're in or what program they're working in operationally. I actually couldn't tell you the exact number of handlers because one of the things that we do is also train local handlers on location. So for our mine detection program, we have a team of Cambodian trainers working in Cambodia with our rats, or a team of Angolan trainers working with the rats in Angola. Likewise, for TB detection, we have a team of Ethiopian handlers working with the TB detection rats in our program there in Addis Ababa. And then here in Tanzania, we have over 20 different trainers working with the young rats from the moment their eyes open all the way up through TB detection program.
Wow. Well, that makes it so efficient, the work that you do with your staff, if you can train handlers and if the rats are not that bonded, that they can work with multiple handlers. That just makes it so efficient.
Yeah, and that's one of the advantages of the rats, really. The rats, in terms of their sense of smell, from what we've seen, is really on par with your more typical canine sniffer dog.
Mm-hmm.
But an advantage for the rat in some scenarios is their small size, that they can be easily transported to these different locations, and the fact that their handler doesn't necessarily have to go with them.
Right, right. And how do you transport the rats? How do you do that? Getting them into the field?
They have special custom designed cages that give them plenty of room to lounge out and snooze during transport or to nibble on things. Yeah, so we have custom designed cages for transporting them both in the airlines to get them to the country of operation, but also just, each working day. For instance, if they're for a mine detection rat, to get from the camp base location to the actual minefield, they have special cages for that.
Yeah, of course you do. Yes, these are superstar rats. Yeah, they are. I see why you call them hero rats. Absolutely, they are. Yep, that is so amazing. Well, we are going to take just a quick break and hear some important messages from our sponsors. And we're going to come back and continue visiting with Dr. Fast because I have a lot more questions about the work that you're doing. So come right back.
Begging to hear more of your favorite show? Full episodes of all our shows are available on demand. Go to PetLifeRadio.com to fetch our entire lineup of Possum Pet podcasts. Also, dig us up in iHeartRadio and iTunes. Let's talk pets. Live and on demand only from Pet Life Radio.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. It's my privilege today to be visiting with Dr. Cynthia Fast from APOPO, which is an amazing international organization that focuses on training hero rats and hero canines to do amazing work all over the planet to keep all of us safe, training animals to rid the world of landmines and tuberculosis. So, yeah, Dr. Fast, this work that you're sharing with us is just so fascinating. So tell us a little bit more about some of the research that your organization is involved with.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Marcie. We have actually quite a few lines of active research ranging from just sort of what is the fundamental principles that our rats are using to learn and to smell the different substances that we're training them for, all the way up to applying that in the field. So how do we maximize our training, or how do we deploy our rats in different ways where they can be even more useful? Or is there new things that our rats can sniff out to put their noses to good use? And a couple of those projects that are in the final stages of development include training the rats to sniff out survivors that are trapped in collapsed buildings following natural disasters like earthquakes. And here we see that the rat's small size might be a really great advantage for them because they can get down inside the rubble where maybe a canine wouldn't be able to access. And they can communicate back to us on the surface when they found someone. So we've made little technology-enabled backpacks that the rats can wear to carry down in there with them. So we know where they're at when they find a survivor. And it would even allow us to have two-way real-time communication with that survivor if they're conscious and to let them know help is on the way.
Wow.
And the other project that we're in the final stages of developing is training the rats to sniff out illegally smuggled wildlife. And I really love this project because it's one of our first ones where the rats are helping fellow non-human animals by sniffing out where they're being smuggled and hopefully helping to prevent poaching and protect biodiversity across the planet.
Yeah, well, that's remarkable. And so tell us where all you're located on the planet. Where are you working?
So all of our rats are bred and trained initially here in Tanzania, where we work in partnership with the Sokoine University of Agriculture in Morogoro. From here, the rats are either deployed elsewhere in other cities in Dar es Salaam for TB detection, or to Ethiopia in Addis Ababa for TB detection. Or for landmine detection, we have rats now deployed in Angola, Azerbaijan, and Cambodia, and they were previously in Mozambique until that country was declared mine-free. For search and rescue, our rats are on standby getting ready to go to Turkey, where we will conduct our operational trials with that project partner, Gaia, who is a volunteer search and rescue organization there.
It's wonderful. Well, tell us about your hero dogs, because don't you have technical survey dogs? Is that how you identify them?
Yes, yeah, we are actually training all of our dogs in Cambodia at our dog training center. They're trained either for mine detection in sort of traditional ways, or what is kind of new and innovative with our dogs in APOPO's training program is technical survey. So when we go to an area where it's affected by landmines, it's not always clear where those minefields are at. So there's kind of a graded process through that. It's called land release. So the very first step to that is non-technical survey. And there you're kind of gathering the community knowledge and wisdom of, we never go over there because, 10 years ago, there was rumor that something was found or so-and-so's cow had an accident by stepping on something. So that's kind of non-technical, and you kind of start narrowing down the suspected hazardous areas. The next step is technical survey. And for this, you need to go in and systematically sample a proportion of that suspected hazardous area, looking for evidence that there actually are explosives there. So for a mine detection rat, for example, it's not really the best job for them because we need to clear the vegetation in a way that the rat can easily navigate it. But with our dogs, we have really high drive Belgian Malinois dogs who have been trained to go straight into that vegetation and follow verbal commands from their handler who's not even within view, and search in straight lines and then come back. And of course, if they detect a landmine or other explosive remnant of war, they then signal to their handler that they've found something, and then the whole crew will come in to do full clearance, which is when every square inch of that minefield in that area is searched for any explosives.
That is fantastic. And just getting my head around this, it's such a responsibility that you have of looking at all these areas that are just so high risk with these landmines, and equally with tuberculosis. There is just such high risk work that you're doing. So tell us a little bit about what your vision is. Well, first of all, I've got so many questions for you, Dr. Fast. First question is, tell us about your partnerships. Do you work with the World Health Organization or other international leaders? How do you get invited to go into these areas?
Yeah, partnership is really key. So in all of our mine action countries where we're working, we partner with the local mine action authority, and they are the ones who actually conduct accreditation externally of our rats and also provide oftentimes quality control as an added level, as you said, to make sure that there's not any risks of leaving anything behind. I'm happy to report that there's never been any evidence of our rats leaving anything behind, despite all of that quality control done both internally and externally.
That's excellent.
But for TB detection, usually we're partnering with our local health clinics and health ministries in the countries where we work.
That's great. That's what I was wondering, because for canines, it's Assistance Dogs International is one of the big quality control type agencies. But I was wondering about that for you and your work, about what kind of quality control and if there was any kind of requirements or authority that was over the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. So even our internal accreditation standards are based on those international standards. There's no such thing for a scent detection animal for diseases. There's not really anyone else who's routinely deploying animals for medical detection the way that we are working with our rats for TB detection. So we just set very, very high rigid standards ourselves and follow those. But for mine action, there are certainly the international mine action standards, which have been set and are followed by the local mine action authorities and ourselves as well.
Well, I have to ask you, Dr. Fast, how did you get involved in this? What was your path? I know you have such a rich history of academia, but tell us, how did you get involved and how did you get to Tanzania?
Well, I've actually always just been an animal lover. Before I even knew what animal training was, I was doing it. I was training my pet ducks how to come to me by name and all sorts of things. So when I got involved in psychology, just kind of serendipitously, I found myself in an animal lab that was working with rats. And I was really hesitant at first because, I'm an animal lover and I'd always heard such horrible things about animal research. It has such negative connotations. But I was really pleased to see how these rats were cared for in the lab, and I enjoyed working with them. And I realized that you could learn so much from a rat about how we learn about our world and how our memory works and how we make behavioral decisions and how our brains are really working to guide all of this. So that was a lot of the academic research was with rats, but also pigeons and hermit crabs and all sorts of animals. And then I did a postdoc fellowship at a lab at Rutgers University where they were studying the sense of smell. And initially I thought, nobody really cares about the sense of smell. But I was so wrong. It is so important. And it is.
Yeah.
I think COVID did a lot to really gain our respect for the sense of smell for anyone who was impacted by that and lost their sense of smell. But I really got to learn the intricacies of the sense of smell and how is it that rats and other animals are able to use this really powerful sense that, we don't have as much access to typically. So then, I had always been following APOPO actually for quite a few years and just had this epiphany that it would be my dream job to put together my love of animals and training and rats and my knowledge of learning and memory and the brain and how the sense of smell works to help with training these animals. And about a month or so after I had that epiphany, there was a posting that they were looking for a recruit. So the rest is history. I guess I've been here 9 years now.
Oh, I love it. Well, I just love that you envisioned your dream job and you went for it. I love that so much. That's so encouraging. Yeah, because I'm always amazed at what we underestimate as humans, underestimating animals. So I just love that you always had that connection and you followed your dream. It's beautiful.
It never gets old either. I mean, every morning I step out onto the minefield and the sun's rising and I see those rats' whiskers just going. It just gives me goosebumps and a big smile.
I bet, and a big sense of pride for the work that you're doing because you're saving lives every day. Yes, with these little gifted animals. Well, tell us, what is your vision for the future for APOPO? What do you see? What do you want to see?
Well, I think really core to all of our activities is innovation, and it is also one of our core values. So as technology continues to advance, I see the rats continuing to have a role in either driving how technology is developed or engineered, kind of informing that, or working together with that technology. So I mentioned the search and rescue rats. There's limitations of our current technology in that sort of setting. We have camera probes, but those can only reach so far. We have robots, but it's really difficult to send a signal down in through all this reinforced concrete or get a signal back out. And all of those things are just sort of blindly searching. Where if you can put that technology like the camera or a GPS on the rat, who is free to navigate on their own and uses their nose and their other senses as well to locate exactly where the person's at, you really are getting the best of both worlds. And that's one of the things that we've been working a lot with that rat backpack is, how do we improve the technologies to get a signal out of that rubble? And even though we're not there yet, what we can do with the rat is just store locally on an SD card what that information is. So just in case the signal doesn't come out, when we call the rat to return to us, we can pop out the SD card, throw it in the laptop and see almost real time what it was that the rat found while they were down there. So I think that's my vision really moving forward is how it is that the rats are going to help technology and technology will also help the rats.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I don't have one doubt that you will do that. Yep, that is just for sure that you guys will figure out a way how to make that happen as technology evolves. Yeah, because it seems like every day there's some new possibility And I know that you will maximize that. So that is so exciting. And we want to hear more about that as you evolve. Well, tell us what you can share with us about how do you fund your work?
We have a variety of funding. So we do have some grants that are issued from government organizations or agencies or through private foundations and donors. But a large majority of our work is actually funded from donations from the public. So we have a program set up where you can actually sponsor one of our landmine detection rats or TB detection rats, or even, as you mentioned, our HeroDOGs. You can subscribe to that. I think it's only like $9 a month. And you get a monthly update on what it is that your animal is doing out in the field. So you get updates throughout their whole career. And that really goes a long way. It's 90 cents of every dollar that's donated goes directly to our operations and the work that we're doing on the ground.
That's wonderful. And I did see that you can adopt a rat or adopt a canine.
Yeah, and it's a really fun program. I really enjoy it too. I feel like it kind of gives everyone an insight to what my day is like. Earlier, I'm sorry I didn't directly answer your question. You asked how many rats we have. And right now I have 289 rats.
Oh my
Whether
goodness.
that's in training, in deployment, or in retirement, like in total, we have 289 rats. And because I've been here for 9 years now, I know each and every one of those rats. So when you mentioned like how proud that is, it really does give you a sense, I think, of like a proud parent, and you've sent your child off into the world
Yes.
and they're doing great big things. And I just think back like, oh, I remember when Ronan was just a little pup and how cute he was, you know?
Yes.
And now he's out there breaking Guinness World Records and finding all these landmines and helping the world to be a safer place. So I think as a sponsor of our rats, you get a little insight on that because you can follow a rat through their whole career.
That is sensational and brilliant. Yes. And I think that Fenway and I are going to have to become adoptive parents of a rat. Yes. You've inspired us to do that. That's such a great way that anyone can support what you're doing and learn more about what you're doing, because not only are you accepting that donation, but you're giving back to the donor with all that wonderful, really that experience. Yeah, that intimate experience of that rat's career or that canine's career. I love that so much.
I absolutely love one of our newest rats who is just up for adoption or sponsorship. Her name is Tamasha, and she is a TB detection rat. She just started her career, but she is just so full of personality. She squeaks, and really communicates a lot with the handlers. She is super loving and cuddly. She loves to be handled, and I can't wait to see what great things she's going to do. But I think a lot of times our TB detection program gets a little overlooked. In places like in the U.S., we kind of forget about TB. It's kind of been eradicated or largely eradicated. But it's actually the world's deadliest infectious disease. And more people die every single day from TB than landmines kill in an entire year. So when I see a rat like Tamasha just starting out her career, I'm just so excited to see what she's going to do.
Yes, yes. And how desperately we need that on the planet. Yes, to make sure that we can keep that at bay as much as possible. Well, it has been such a joy to visit with you, Dr. Fast, and just to hear about the incredible work that you are doing with your little team of rats and canines and human handlers. It's just wonderful what you're doing around the globe. And I'm just so grateful that you took time out of your busy day to be with us. And the last thing I do want to ask you is please tell myself and our listeners how we can get more information about APOPO, how we can adopt. Can we do that through your website or Facebook, Instagram? Tell us, where can we find you?
Great question. So you can find access to all of our information. We're very open source, including our annual reports, our impact figures, and also where you can adopt or sponsor an animals, all on our website. It's just www.apopo.org. But we are also on social media. I believe on Facebook, we're HeroRATs I'm not sure on Instagram or the others, but we're out there. I'm sorry, I don't know offhand what they are.
That's okay. We can find you. With APOPO being so short, APOPO is awesome. So I'm sure if we search that, we will find you, and I will be sure and put that website address on our site so that our listeners can access you through your website. Yeah, thank you so much for being with us today. I just could visit with you all day, and I hope you'll come back and tell us more about your work as you evolve and expand your creativity. I love that, creativity and innovation with technology. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Fast.
My pleasure, Marcie. Thank you for having me.
And thank you, our listeners, for being with us today. We love when you join us, and you know we love to hear from you. So please keep your questions, comments, ideas for future shows coming on those emails. I love to get them. And you can email me at Marcie, Marcie, at PetLifeRadio.com. So thanks so much for being with us, and we look forward to being with you again soon. Take good care.
Let's Talk Pets every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.